Let me thank Bev and Khadija and Cindy for those very, very generous introductions. The new year has come. We're in 2016. I don't know about you, but I think maybe it's time to make some history. What do you think? I kind of think that maybe we've had enough of establishment politics and establishment economics. I kind of think we need a political revolution. I'm getting a little bit tired of seeing our government run by billionaires and corporate interests and folks who contribute hundreds of millions of dollars into the political process. And I've got a radical idea that maybe, just maybe, we should create a government that works for the working families of this country, not just the top 1%. Now, politics in this day and age gets kind of dumb. And if you look at the Republican process there, their primaries and stuff, oh my God, it gets really dumb. So what we are trying to do in this campaign, and I know this is another really radical idea, is actually treat the American people as if they were intelligent human beings. And let me begin by telling you a little bit about myself and my family. I studied economics a bit in college, but the truth is that the most profound economic lesson that I learned was when I was a little kid. And I was a little kid growing up in a 3.5-room rent-controlled apartment in Brooklyn, New York. My dad was a paint salesman. He never made much money. He came to the United States from Poland at the age of 17. We were never poor, but we just never had a whole lot of money. And what I learned growing up in a lower middle class family is what the stress of not having money does to a family. And we don't think about it too much. We just accept it the way it is. But when you don't have a lot of money, every decision that the family makes, do you buy this, do you go there, can you go to that school? Every decision is a torturous decision because you're dealing with limited resources. That's the lesson that I learned growing up. And that's the lesson today that exists in millions and millions of households throughout this country. So the main point of this campaign is to ask all of us to think big, not to think small, to understand that in our country today, we are the wealthiest country in the history of the world. We are not a poor nation. And if we are the wealthiest country in the history of the world, how does it happen that we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major nation on earth? How does that happen? How does it happen that half of the children in public schools today are on free or reduced lunch programs? How does it happen that elderly people in my state, in your state, are trying to survive on $13,000 a year, $12,000 a year Social Security, and are cutting their prescription drug pills in half because they don't have enough money to buy the medicine they need? How does it happen that mom and dad are going to go to work on Monday and they're worried about the quality of child care that they're sending their kids to because they can't afford good quality, affordable child care? How does it happen that despite a huge increase in worker productivity, as a result of an exploding technology. How does it happen that median family income today is $4,000 less than it was in 1999? How does it happen that in my state, in your state, people are working 2 or 3 jobs just to bring in enough income and health care to take care of the family? How does it happen that millions of single moms are trying to make it on 10 or 11 bucks an hour and are getting paid 79 cents on the dollar compared to men? They're trying desperately to bring up their kids with dignity, and in many cases, they're falling further and further behind. So the mantra of this campaign is that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, when we stand together, when we don't allow the Trumps and others of the world to divide us up as to whether or not we were born in Mexico or born in the United States, whether we're Muslim or whether we are Christian or Jews, when we stand together as a people and have the courage to take on the billionaire class whose greed is destroying this country, when we have that courage, my friends, and this I mean from the bottom of my heart, when we are prepared to say to the 1%, you cannot have it all. You cannot have it all. You're not going to get huge tax breaks when children in this country go hungry. You're not going to continue to ship out jobs abroad when people in this country desperately need good-paying jobs. Say to the CEOs of the large corporations, sorry, you're not going to continue to cut the wages and health care benefits and pensions of your workers, and then you end up with compensation packages 300 times larger than the average worker in your company. Ain't going to happen anymore with your children. This campaign about 8.5 months ago, a lot of the professionals and the pundits and the media said, well, you know, Bernie Sanders is an interesting guy. He combs his hair really nicely. A GQ dresser. But nonetheless, he ain't going to become president because, you know, who in America actually believes that we should make a political revolution? He's not going to become president because, you know, in this day and age, it takes a lot of money to run a national campaign. And Bernie Sanders has said he does not want the money of the billionaires in corporate America because he doesn't represent their interests. So they said, how are you going to run a winning campaign, which requires tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, if you don't have a super PAC and you don't beg the rich and the powerful in corporate America for campaign funds? How can you do that? Well, we decided to do something pretty simple and straightforward. And that is to say to the middle class and working families of this country that if we want real change, we've got to stand together. Our campaign needs your help. And then an amazing, absolutely amazing thing happened, and I could not have predicted it in a million years. And that is, as of today, we have received more individual campaign contributions than any campaign in the history of the United States. something I never would have dreamed to be possible. And here is the extraordinary thing. You know, a lot of politicians take real pride and say, wow, I went to dinner last night, I brought back $3 million. Or I got $5 million. Jeb Bush apparently got a $10 million check from some Wall Street guy the other day. And that's what these guys boast about. You know what I boast about? You know what moves me very deeply? Our average contribution is $27. So what you are looking at is a people's campaign of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that's why we're going to win this election. And it is not only that we have received more individual contributions than anybody in American history at this point in the campaign, it's that we have hundreds of thousands of wonderful volunteers in every state in this country, including many, many thousands here in Iowa. And just before I walked in here, I met with a number of people who are actively involved in the campaign, and you got 4 or 5 wonderful high school kids who are working hard on this campaign. Right there. But it's not only young people. You know, we have had meetings just like this all over the state of Iowa, all over New Hampshire, all over America. We have now brought out to meetings just like this close to 450,000 Americans. In this state of Iowa, we have brought out some 35,000 people to meetings like this. The reason I am confident that we are going to win here in Iowa is precisely because of the grassroots effort that these young people and people all over the state are doing. I think the word has gone out and people now understand that given the enormous problems facing this country, it is just too late for the same old type of politics and economics. And when we talk about campaigns, let me mention an issue that's out there. And that is, my opponent, Secretary Clinton, says, you know, before you go out to vote, you have got to consider the electability of the candidates. You know, can that candidate win a general election? And Secretary Clinton is exactly right. That is an enormously important issue, because I hope that there's nobody in this room who wants to see one of these right-wing extremists occupy the White House. We have got to be right-wing Republican extremism. So the question is, who is the stronger candidate to do that? Well, not me, us. ideas a bit, but he's just not electable. Tell him these things. Number one, the last significant national poll, which had Hillary Clinton running against Trump and me running against Trump, had me defeating Trump by almost twice the margin that she was defeated. Just a few hours ago, there was a poll that was released in New Hampshire. This was just New Hampshire numbers. And I asked the folks in New Hampshire, which is a fairly typical state, they said, okay, look at Sanders versus the Republicans, look at Clinton versus the Republicans. Here are the results. You don't want the results? Yeah. All right. Sanders beats Jeb Bush by 12 points. Clinton beats him by 6. Sanders beats Ben Carson by 19. Clinton beats him by 11. Sanders defeats our good friend Ted Cruz by 20 points. Hillary Clinton defeats him by 8 points. Sanders defeats Marco Rubio by 14 points. Hillary Clinton beats him by 3 points. And I must confess to you, here is my favorite one. My dear, dear friend Donald. Sanders beats Trump in New Hampshire by 20 points. Clinton beats him by 14. That's just one poll, and other polls can say different things. But here is the point. The point is not only have a number of polls, not just these, shown us stronger against Republicans than Secretary Clinton, there is another factor that is even more important. And that is Republicans win elections when people are demoralized, when they are disillusioned, and when they don't come out to vote. And a perfect example of that is what happened a little over a year ago, when the Republicans won a huge, huge victory at a time when 63% of the American people didn't vote, 80% of young people didn't vote, and about 75% of low-income working-class people did not vote. I believe that anybody who objectively looks at the two campaigns will conclude that our campaign is the campaign that has the energy, that has the enthusiasm, and that it is our campaign that can create a very large increase in the voter turnout, which will enable us to retain the White House, regain the Senate, do well in the House, and win governor's chairs all over America.